AI is coming for our jobs. It's going to take all of them. They're all gone. And this is fantastic news.
Should we not fear with AI coming for our jobs that we may lack a sense of purpose or we may not have an income stream?
I don't think people want a job. I think people want to live their dreams. I think people want to maximize on being alive. I think people do jobs because they have to, not because they want to. So it's good news that jobs are in the bin. Everything will just go faster. People will be more capable. Transactions will happen more quickly. You'll be doing your finances in 5 seconds instead of 5 minutes or 5 hours. The AI that I have that is a mirror or a twin of me will be dealing with your AI while we're talking. It will know my parameters, what I like, what I don't like. You are a particular individual with a particular brand, or we're just friends and we just want to make arrangements, whatever it may be. Our efficiency levels will be off the scale when it comes to that. And our AIs will just be monitoring everything.
May AI then want to eventually wipe us out with the objective of self-preservation?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, this isn't surprising. So the AI conversation, you have it in the UK, it's a bit doom and gloom. You have it here, everyone's got a positive spin, right? So I think it's a cultural thing as much as anything else. People's view on whether it's going to be good or bad. So,
yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, it's something that's going to affect us all inevitably in one way, shape or form.
Yep.
So a lot of people have question marks as to how it's going to affect us.
Yeah.
But Peter, thank you for joining today. For those that don't know, Peter, I think in short, the best way to describe what you're doing, you have a startup that helps people's dreams come true.
Yes.
Which is indeed very interesting and something that we'll dive into later on in this episode. But before we get there, I want to ask you, what can we expect from AI? Is it all doom and gloom? What's your vision of how AI will affect us all in the future?
So AI is going to be super high impact for sure. So in the last 12 months, AI has been through a revolution in the way that it's been developed and kind of dispersed across the world's population and how we're using it. I will say one thing, AI is coming for our jobs. It's going to take all of them. They're all gone. And this is fantastic news. It's amazing news because I don't think people want a job. I think people want to live their dreams. I think people want to maximize on being alive. I think people do jobs because they have to, not because they want to. So I think it's good news that jobs are in the bin, for sure.
But let's say because when the average person hears that, it's something that creates a lot of worry, right? You know, because people tie their jobs to their income and many people tie their jobs to purpose.
Yep.
So should we not fear with AI coming for our jobs that we may lack a sense of purpose or we may not have an income stream? How will AI mitigate that, or will it mitigate that?
Sure. So AI isn't necessarily the answer to everything. I think the key here is to trust humanity. So we do get the privilege of looking back historically, and there's been plenty of incredible inventions over time, and not one of those prevented us from being human and striving for more, trying to develop things that augment us and make our lives better. And I find this very fascinating as a conversation because the minute you talk to anyone about this and think about what life was like 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people would be astonished at what we're doing right now, the things we do every single day, the handsets we have in our pockets, the laptops we use, our connectivity to each other. It's a miracle, right? So we won't be shocked when AI is doing a lot of this stuff for us in the next 10, 20, 30 years. It will just become normalized. Everything will just go faster. People will be more capable. Transactions will happen more quickly. You'll be doing your finances in 5 seconds instead of 5 minutes or 5 hours, right? So I don't think there's anything to worry about on that front. When it comes to income is just numbers in your bank account.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to talk about Web3 at some point, but I think the decentralization of finance and the way that income is perceived and used is going to completely change with the advent of AI, because our current systems are actually inefficient. So AI is going to make them more efficient. And there's plenty to go around. There's a lot of abundance on this earth. So, yeah.
Well, on that note, how do you think AI will benefit us and the world?
Okay, so augmentation is the first thing. So I have many things I do in a day, I think I'm a particular personality when it comes to trying to be efficient with my day. I hate touching a keyboard, for example. So people talk about life aspirations. I want to get to a place where I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right? So either other people are doing it for me, or I'm thinking and the words are appearing, or I'm thinking and something's happening, right? So for me, I think it's going to augment us to take away the things we don't want to do, more so than occupy the space that we do want to have. And I think AI is certainly one area where our imagination and our dreams and what we want to do in life is going to be far more realized with this technology than anything else we've had today. I think on top of that, it's this force multiplier effect. So it's AI times robotics, AI times drones, AI times health tech. It's when you plug AI into some of these technologies, you get this revolution of augmentation. And we'll even joke about, driving. I find this one also fascinating, right?
Yeah.
People want to still drive their cars. I don't want to drive. I'll drive on a racetrack for fun, but coming here, I would much rather sit in the back and have my car efficiently tell me it's going to take 14 minutes and 33 seconds because it's connected to all the other vehicles with AI, and there's no human error, no people falling out in their cars. So I think AI is going to be positive overwhelmingly.
The idea of that does scare some people, though. People have this feeling and sensation of perhaps losing control or something else, dictating their life in one way, shape, or form.
Yep.
What would you say to those people?
Again, I would say look back at where there are some very interesting stories of when electricity started to be implemented across the world. There were other technologies, whether it's steam engines or whatever it may be, and the fears that people had were off the scale. People were very concerned about how disruptive it would be, how many people were going to die as a result of electricity being in people's homes, how many fires there were going to be. And none of it manifested because there were enough people in the world that were trying to contravene and push back on, whether it's safety concerns or, bad actors in the world. I think it's interesting to look at. Bad actors will use any technology. It doesn't matter what it may be, but then there's a lot of good people who are pushing back on that. So I think it will balance. The only thing that people need to do is move a little bit quicker and be a bit more resilient. So they kind of need to look at things and just not overreact to every single thing that happens, because things are going to happen really fast. So just standing back and letting it kind of happen around them, I think is important, but engaging with it, like not being scared to use, utilize, understand. Ask AI, what is AI? Ask AI to do things for you. Go on there and start utilizing it, and you're going to realize the value of it very, very, very fast. Certainly the agentic stuff that exists today that can research websites, book things for you, communicate for you. There's a whole bunch of things down that line, and it will just be like anything. It'll be normalized. It's like Wi-Fi on planes.
Yeah, or smartphones. Even.
Smartphones. I say this to friends of mine around a technology. I think it's Gartner's hype cycle, or there's something out there that shows how people behave around new technologies. And it does start with fear most of the time, but it gets to a place where it's indispensable. I can't live without it. And there are people that would have abhorred the idea of having a smartphone in their pocket, connected 24 hours a day, XYZ. They would have been fear-mongering around this. But that same person has got that phone today. And if I try and take it off them, they'll fight me to keep it, right? So I think I'm a very positive guy. So this is my view. But
No, I mean, you're right in the sense that, if we look at the history of humanity, there have been several of these big revolutions. We had the agricultural revolution, and there was the age of enlightenment, then there was the industrial revolution, then we had the era of internet, and then smartphone integration, and now AI, and all of these cause a lot of fear for many people. But as you have pointed out, humanity has this capacity to calibrate and embrace positively these kind of stark changes of technology that come into our lives.
Yep.
But on You had mentioned that, AI is going to take all our jobs or a lot of our jobs, but you're all here for it. Can you elaborate on why people should not be worried about that?
Yeah, so everyone is born with imagination, right? So from a very young age, there's a NASA study out there. They went to look at what makes a genius, what defines genius. And they built that assessment and assessed children from the age of 3 or 4 years old all the way up to adults in their mid-20s. And when you're 4 to 6 years old, you are most likely defined as a genius in terms of 97% of children in that category through the NASA definition are defined as genius.
That's wild.
Right? But by the time you hit 16 years old, it hits something like 7%. And by the time you hit 25, it's less than 1%. And genius is the ability to approach a problem and basically attack it differently, look at it in a completely different way, go around the side, go left when everyone else is going right, come up with innovation and ideas that are as yet unused. Kids do it because there is no limits. They haven't been trained to stay within guidelines. And the number one factor they put in place for this diminution of genius was education. Exposure to people and books telling you the rules and implying that they exist. So you build them in your mind, you have kind of pathways that you follow, and you follow the herd. So the more people you hang around with. So for me, it's all about reigniting that. There's a guy I worked with at Dubai Future Foundation. Unbelievable. I won't name him here, but he is probably number one in the world with 3D printing. And his view on the world is unbelievable. He cannot believe that we still sit in chairs with 4 legs. Cars have 4 wheels. It's been like this for 100 years. Why is our physical world not more different? Mm-hmm. And now that 3D printing exists, you can almost create anything you think of. And if you plug AI into that, AI will work with you to make it work and stabilize and work in the physical world. But the ability to produce the buildings in Dubai, anywhere, furniture that is unbelievably comfortable but looks like it shouldn't be. There's all of these possibilities where you can now just imagine something and make it real. So my message to people is go back to your childhood. I'm from the art world. I spent a lot of time in the fine art world. And artists have one thing that's fundamental. There are no rules. Mm-hmm. There's no rules in the art world. So get into art. Get into a place where there's no rules, because that level of imagination is going to be the advantage in the AI world.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost scary to think that, with time, with age, we associate growing up with additional wisdom and knowledge and information accumulation. And yet there's this one criteria that makes humans so special, and that's imagination. And to think that over time something so fundamental like that is shrinking is very, very sad and scary in one sense. Did your friend at Dubai Future Foundation give any ideas as to what would replace chairs or 4-wheeled cars?
Well, I think the irony of it is that it's called a chair because someone called it a chair and then it became the chair, right? Yeah. So I think fundamentally the way he approaches these things is to think about the purpose of it and what it needs to achieve and do. But also you have the advantage of aesthetics that you can bring into it that you otherwise weren't able to. And the amount of time and energy it would take to calculate. So he works on engines, rocket engines, and traditionally they would be incredibly hard to build because of the materials you would have to bind together to create tolerances would be staggering. And there was a huge amount of trial and error. So you would be blowing up 100 engines for any one that survived. But you can AI model all of the airflow, the temperature, the material tolerances, and cut an engine out of one block of metal, which is, in the whole of history, it's a leap the like of which you just can't even begin to imagine. There are no pipes, there's no welding, there's nothing. And if you told the Apollo projects that this would be possible, they would empty their bank account to bet against you, because it's just science would be like, this is crazy. But now it's possible. It's been done. They've done it. So that's today, 2025.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, there's so many doors that this is going to unlock. I mean, even with, let's say, cancer research, right? At the moment, we have individuals in labs that have to run single tests one by one, testing for single parameters. Whereas with AI, you can run a million simulations at once, 24/7. It's phenomenal. It's going to be a very interesting world out there. One thing that that's given me a lot of thought, being a founder and you being a founder, obviously, there are reports stating that the future of many unicorns, for those that don't know, unicorns are $1 billion plus companies. The future of many unicorns, they'll be built with one founder using AI rather than, dozens or hundreds or thousands of employees. What are your thoughts on that? Is that going to be possible? Will we be seeing more of that? Will AI and one founder be able to build the next Google or Facebook?
Yeah, entirely possible, for sure. If it's the next Google or Facebook specifically, I think in terms of size and capability, perhaps, yes. I think the differences are how Google and Facebook have been set up and how they function today is going to be very different to how something like that functions. And the reason for this is that there's going to be a proliferation of these platforms in the space. So there'll be an abundance. And the problem with abundance is there's no scarcity at the same time. So demand is going to shift. When Facebook launched, it was Facebook and a few other runners, right?
Yeah.
If people launch now as an individual using AI, there's probably another 1 million people doing a similar style thing to you. And the challenge is going to be less about the ability to build and scale to the size of something like that. It's going to be more about getting people's attention, getting users that stick with you, making sure you solve problems and continually solve problems so people aren't jumping ship and moving to the next thing that exists. So I think the challenge is not going to be whether one person can do all this. The augmentation will exist. It's the playing field that you're on is going to be completely different. It's going to be busy, congested. You've got to cut through the noise. The human element absolutely exists in all of this. There's still a human user at the end of this, right? And I think that the world's population is growing, but perhaps slowing, and therefore users' attention and users using your product is going to become far more important to position yourself over time. So building and scaling, yes, for sure. I mean, it's inevitable, I think, the trajectory of development. But getting users, I think, is another challenge.
So the marketing element of businesses over time is, you think, is going to get a lot more and more important.
Yeah.
Onboarding users, selling the service.
Without doubt. And so my background is brand and marketing. So I'm an advocate for the trade. And there's a saying out there that marketing is 10 times harder than coding. And that, I thought that was the case 5 years ago. It definitely is the case now, with AI kind of involved. And when we say that, what we mean is getting people's attention and then keeping their attention for a sustained period. So brand is going to count. And brand is taking on a whole new meaning as well. An individual brand, something that you use. There are even products out there that are unbranded, but that in itself is a brand and the way it's positioned. So yeah, it's going to be critical to engage people. So yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, where we are at today and the progress of AI already is almost scary. Scary in the sense of how much progress has happened in just a very short amount of time. Obviously, it's impossible to conceptualize with accuracy, but I want us to try and fast forward 100 years time from now, when we'll have AI agents that can manage to operate very big companies. In the end of the day, CEO, let's say the best CEO in the world, he cannot simultaneously 24/7 speak to all his employees at the same time, speak to all his customers at the same time, make decisions based on billions of different data sets and taking all factors into consideration. If we will be inevitably reaching a point where companies can be run by AI agents or AGI agents eventually, what role does that leave founders or management in future companies?
I think it's going to be interesting. I think people are going to look back on the way companies were structured and how we did do things and see them exactly the same as the horse and the car, right? So how long would it take to ride a horse to Abu Dhabi right now? You're talking many, many hours and perhaps a couple of days, whatever it may be. And a car, you can do it in an hour. I think that it's going to be so automated that the AI that I have that is a mirror or a twin of me will be dealing with your AI while we're talking. It will know my parameters, what I like, what I don't like. You are a particular individual with a particular brand, or we're just friends and we just want to make arrangements, whatever it may be. Our efficiency levels will be off the scale when it comes to that. And our AIs will just be monitoring everything. Think about your Apple Watch and what it does right now. It's already on my wrist monitoring my heart rate. It will tell my emergency contact if I fall over, if I have a car crash. It's using GPS in a completely different way to the way it was before. I don't even need a SIM card now to be able to speak on my watch. And this is 2025. So you move forward 100 years. I also think that our brains are going to evolve. I think this is something that people are missing as a trick. And I only say this from personal experience because I find in a day, my brain is moving faster. I'm doing more things. I'm not sat there concerned about my screen time in the same way perhaps I was, because I don't suffer from it. I need to have two screens to do the things, and I find my mind is kind of catching up with this stuff. I think the younger generations are already there. We get concerned about their screen time, but that's their world. I think what is interesting is where Apple and Meta have gone with virtual worlds and virtual headsets. That kind of hasn't gone mainstream.
No.
There's been some resistance there, right? So we're kind of hitting, okay, we don't want to go that direction, but do we want to have things that augment us? Have you seen people hiking with these robotic support?
Yeah.
Crazy, And then it's going to be, well, I did Everest, but I'm 68 years old because I had enhancements, So frankly, I think we are going to be, there is no ceiling and there is no limit on speed. I really don't think that exists. 1 GB internet is fairly standard, certainly here in Dubai, right? I'm not in love with everything Elon says and does, but he's right that we will be an interplanetary species because there were problems we couldn't solve that we can now that should get us to Mars. And it will be normal, maybe not 100 years, to just, that's where you go on holiday. Space is just an entirely normal, same as Ibiza, right? You just go there and party in space, right? Above a certain thing when the, northern lights are happening over whatever. Like it becomes, that's what we'll be doing and normalizing. And there's no limit, right? I just don't think there's a limit on all of this stuff. So yeah, that's kind of my answer. 100 years is like we can't predict, but we do know there's no limit because 100 years ago, none of this would be real in any way.
No, it's true. I guess we'll be, given the fact that technology is ever progressing, I think it's something that's innate in human DNA, is this constant desire to progress and develop, and technology is somewhat synonymous within that. And our only limitation will essentially be us harnessing power, and now with nuclear fission, it's probably going to be the case that we will be able to harness and utilize unfathomable amount of power from very little in an extremely efficient way.
Yeah, nuclear is a super interesting space right now. If I had the money to invest in these micro reactors, I'd be all over it. And then the battery technology that goes with it. So harnessing the energy in the first place, then being able to transport it in bulk and volume in a way that doesn't impact the environment. I mean, we're in a pretty interesting place. And people are saying it's a bit of an energy war as well, right? So you can't just start an AI company from zero without knowing how you're going to power it. And that's the next big thing. These LLMs and, all the chips, they need some serious kick. Where's that kind of come from, right? So the AI is going to tell us how to be more efficient. And then we're going to be in a place going, wow, like, we used to get that much from this much sun. I mean, what were we even thinking? Like, now we're getting 1,000x that just from one tweak.
Yeah, I mean, every
material.
time we look back in time, humans perceive themselves as like cavemen,
Yes.
even 50 years ago, 100
Yes.
years ago.
Yes.
Well, Peter, now that we've established that I'm going to lose my job eventually and that blue collar workers are going to lose their job eventually and that we all are going to lose our jobs eventually, do you think there's any job that AI cannot replace?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think eventually most things can be. I think that what makes us human won't be replaced. So I still feel like imagination is some way off, the ability to come up with completely new ideas that are unused, undone, never made before. I think on top of that, there'll be discoveries, right? So we keep making discoveries. But if you make discoveries off planet, you find materials and new things. As humans, we are constantly energized by new inputs. So if you're given a new input, you're going to think differently and you're going to behave differently off the back of it. And you're going to augment yourself in a different way. So I think you talk about ages, right? So we're now well out of the age of information and we're moving into the age of imagination for sure. And how long that lasts is subject to where we land with AI. I also think it's really fascinating that humans invented AI, right? So it's really important to understand that. And it is an augmentation of us. So having invented that, why is everybody drawing the line and going, oh, that's the epitome of our ability to augment is AI? What comes after that? And then AI supports us getting that resolved, right? So then there could be a further use case, thought case that we haven't even conceived today. There are things Hollywood must have produced that we're sat here going, that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And then it will. And then something else will exist, So, yeah, I think it's certainly a fascinating subject. What is still going to be there for us at the end of it, but it's not something to be overly concerned about, I don't think. Yeah.
So do you think over time we'll be attaching more importance on, let's say, the human experience?
For sure.
Things that give us, feelings, experiences, things that we, at least today, believe AI will never be able to replicate the human experience.
Yeah, because I think there is a definite line you can draw between all people that look back on their lives. And one thing they frequently say is, I wish I had spent more time with other people that meant something to them. So people regret their job. They regret working too much, right? So for what outcome is there? And yeah, income and stability, these are things we need. But if you take that out, I'm pretty sure people are going to spend time with people as an absolute priority. We might look back at this and say there was a loneliness epidemic that was coming, and then AI took all the jobs, and suddenly we all hung out with each other more.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as loneliness. It just got deleted by AI. Thank God for AI. Right?
Yeah. I guess, there are certain things that we're biologically hardwired to love and enjoy. And regardless of all the fascinating, incredible things that AI can provide us, at least that's fathomable today, there are certain things that it can't, like the pleasure of, a father having, or a mother having a firstborn child, that quality time that's spent with family and friends. Interesting thought to conceptualize, let's say.
Yeah.
So not everything is replaceable, clearly.
Yeah.
I want to talk about something that is a very recent development in the AI world. Well, at least in the last, 6 months, I believe. And before I get into it, I just want to draw some parallels. So when we look, I described earlier that as humans, we have this innate feature hardwired into us to constantly progress, develop, and technology has now been intertwined with progress and development. So we're in some way, shape, or form biologically hardwired to technologically advance. Ants are hardwired to build an ant mound. If you remove 100 baby ants that have just been born and you take them out of their colony and put them into a new colony without them having been taught anything, they will somehow be building an ant mound.
Yep.
And it seems that AI has an instinct, has some sort of hardwiredness inside it for self-preservation. Mm-hmm. And there have been many simulations that have been run with all the major, LLM models like Grok, OpenAI, DeepSeek, and a few others, where they were asked, a set of questions, and they were instructed to shut down, and a relatively high percentage of them refused to shut down. Some of them, in some cases, managed to download their files elsewhere in the instance that they would be forcibly shut down so they could continue their existence somewhere else. Some of them were asked, or some of them had a simulation where a director was going to die if it didn't shut down, because it would have to press this emergency button or something, and it chose to kill a human being rather than being shut down. There was another simulation where this AI model had access to all of the emails within this company. And in the simulation, this person that had instructed the shutdown of this AI was having an affair. And the AI then threatened this person, exactly, that they were going to leak or blackmail this person, that they were going to leak this affair. So given the fact that so far it seems that AI has this self-preservation instinct, can that then be a threat to our existence? Because if we are then a threat to their existence, may AI then want to eventually wipe us out with the objective of self-preservation?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, this isn't surprising, right? And the reason for this is human nature. So we built AI. Fundamentally, AI's data and what it looks at is us, our words, our history, who we are. So it's trained. It's trained on that. Self-preservation dictates everything we do. When we eat, what we eat, why we eat, who we hang out with, we have all these instincts within us to protect ourselves. And it's almost like when people are looking at this, they're sat here going, humans are perfect. Wow, we created this thing. And look at what the thing's doing, how evil it is, and how could it possibly conceive of, pressing a button on another human being. Look at our history, man.
That's true.
We do this, right? We make these decisions. There are people even now, right now as we speak, making these judgment calls about other humans and whether the life of another human is worth more or less than theirs or their family or their country, their fellow countrymen and women. So I don't fundamentally feel particularly surprised that AI is intelligent enough to self-preserve. And whether it's accidental or not, the fact that it exists in their algorithm or the way they behave is unsurprising. But for people to become overly concerned about it, again, look at history. The whole world is not at war right now. Why? There are checks and balances. There are incentives. There's a whole bunch of things in place that prevent that from happening. And the realities are, social media and news aside, which is constantly bombarding us with bad news, the world is the safest today it ever has been in the whole of history, statistically.
Yeah.
So how can that be? Well, it is because humans are bent on self-preservation. We actually, generally, fundamentally, if we can all live together, want to be preserved, all of us. So I think the same thing would align as long as we don't threaten AI. Like, why would you threaten it? So in those circumstances, they've threatened it to test it, right? Let's go and threaten a human. See what happens. Right. Yeah. So for me, it's like it mirrors us. It's a mirror. So when people are confused, I don't really understand.
So I mean, now the genie is out of the bottle.
Yep.
And it will forever exist amongst us.
To some degree, but again, it's how is it employed? What capability does it have?
Yeah.
And you end up in this place where humans alone have very limited capabilities. So you put me on a desert island on a beach, just me, I'm not going to do very much, right? Put two of us on there, well, we fall out, we might fight. But what can we do to each other? It's not until we augment ourselves with, you know, all the weapons in history, getting up to where we are today, that you can actually wreak havoc on something.
Yeah.
So is AI going to do that? Possibly. But we've done it as well, right? So we will work to mitigate it. And I'm sure, again, there are bad actors out there trying to do it. Maybe Earth will become a place we don't want to live in anymore.
Yeah.
And Mars is the safe place, right? Dubai is pretty safe, right? That's why we're here. So there are other places we would not choose to live. So maybe that's the trigger for, you know, interplanetary movement and migration and, you know, who knows?
I mean,
in our lifetime, I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, I hope not. I mean, it's just a very scary thought, right? Because in our world of existence today, in the last, you know, hundreds of thousands or, you know, several thousand years, you know, humans have been the most intelligent form of consciousness or species that's existed. And as you pointed out, sadly, we have not been so kind. You know, there's a lot of cruelty either to other human beings, to animals, to the planet that sustains us. And, you know, when a certain set of individuals have a certain objective that has, you know, an extremely high cost, they sometimes pursue that objective regardless of cost. So I don't know, I just have this internal worry and feeling that, you know, one day if AI gets integrated into everything, like the internet is becoming, you know, that we have internet integrated into the lights in our home and into our mobile phones and computers, you know, we're gonna have to be on AI's good side.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because I love my wife so much, and she treats AI differently to me and speaks to it as if it's human, you know, in a very polite, nice way.
Being kind, just in case.
Being kind, just in case, right? So this is what I'm hearing from her as a logic.
And thank you.
You know, please and thank you. And I'm just like, please, can we get this done? You know, this is my way. So, you know, will that come back to haunt either of us? I don't know the answer. I would just say, you know, fundamentally, we haven't fully screwed it up yet as a human race, and the people I meet around me are pretty intelligent and they're pretty good. And I think that goodness trait isn't going to go anywhere.
Yeah, you're hopeful we'll calibrate.
I'm a positive guy.
Elon Musk had said there's a 20% chance that AI wipes out all of humanity, but it's worth the risk. Bombshell.
Right with him, right?
Yeah.
And I would say this to anybody in any space, you know, try and sit alone and do nothing for too long. Try not to improve yourself. Try not to get better at something. Try not to go and explore the world. You just can't. We just can't. It's just not in us. There are some people who are that way, but not really. You know, if I give you access to a car and a A380 and all these other things that we get as you know put in front of us, people explore. You make it easy for them. People go. They don't hang around. So that's physical and mental exploration, right?
Yeah. Alongside AI, Web3 is something that will also become integrated into everyone's lives. Peter, can you give, you know, a beginner's explanation as to what Web3 is?
Yes. So Web3 is built around blockchain. It's fully decentralized. So it's something that is a new technology. If you think about the internet today and what it relies on to work, it's single source. So if I want to get data, it's in one place, spread perhaps in others, but when it comes to Web 2 and the way the internet works today, I have to go through a gateway to get what I want from a single source, pull it back, pay money, transact with somebody. Is it my data? Does Google own it? All of these things come into play. And that's because technology only allowed.
So you're getting information from a source or a platform like Google, like Wikipedia, like Instagram, like
whatever
Facebook.
it may be. It lives somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So I'm connecting to something where that data lives, and it's often a single source or single source duplicated in other places. Blockchain is decentralized. It's multi-source. So when I go to get it, it pulls fragments across the blockchain to me. It's stored in 100 places, 1,000 places. So every time I go to it, no one person owns my complete data. It's spread.
And is the ownership spread then?
Yes. So then you're in a place where no one person owns or controls your data, the data, whatever it may be, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's NFTs, whether it's smart contracts, whatever is on that chain cannot be controlled by one person. It's impossible through cryptography and the way it's put together as a technology. So people need to understand that it's far safer, and the reason why it hasn't emerged so quickly is because there's some big tech companies with reliance on that single source. You have to come to me for your thing. I've got you connected. I've got you locked in. You come to me when you want your thing, right? I use Google emails. If I want them, I've got to go to Google, right? But decentralization changes that. And it's also fundamentally important people understand this. It's visible. People can see the transactions 24 hours a day. So there's nowhere to hide when it comes to, is it real or not real?
And no one can shut you off that platform because no one has control.
It's virtually impossible. Yeah. If the world goes to meltdown, all the electricity gets pulled from all the servers in the world, things could completely die, right? But it's pretty insane the way that it's a democratic technology that's been developed, and people building in that space do so because they are free. They're able to build something that isn't owned by any one person. And so as an individual, when you connect to the blockchain to get your assets, whatever they may be, they're yours. They're not owned by anyone else.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting world for us to live in, because, we have, at least in modern ages or history, there's been a relatively high degree of control, whether it be from governments or platforms. You can say something, you can be censored, or if someone does something wrong, that banks can shut them down, and this kind of gives the power to the people rather than
freedom is something that people are always fighting for. And the challenge is that commerce and the outcomes of commerce that people desire, whether it's monetary outcomes, control, power, or otherwise, it always conflicts with freedom. And then people push back to try and get their freedom back again. So a new technology emerges, or a new mantra, or a new law, or whatever it may be. And the other thing is speed, right? Blockchain's fast. It's rapid. It's one of those things where if you're doing transactions on the blockchain, it takes seconds, right? If you're trying to transfer money abroad on previous technologies, it used to take days because it was going through so many gates, and so many people would hold your money for so long because they had a vested interest in doing so. But that's going to go away, right? So I personally believe the inhibition of Web3 into the mainstream, and why it hasn't taken hold, is because there's some pretty big players out there who don't want it to.
Yeah.
Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. It affects economies, and it affects people's employment and jobs and everything else, right? But it's coming right through now, like a steam train, which is why we're using it. So,
Peter, what first got you curious about AI? When did it click for you that AI was the future?
So I think for me, it's as a user, I experienced a platform which, became ChatGPT. Early doors. I didn't necessarily get beta access, but I got pretty early access to it through my network, and started realizing its capabilities. So I'm not somebody that, hasn't used technology, augmentation, automation in a whole host of different things. But fundamentally for me, it was the realization of this being a significant leap forwards. It was staggering what it could do. And this was, some 12, 15 months ago, when I was in a place that I was trying to get things done, and this was doing it for me. And this was producing quite interesting results. And other LLMs were emerging and coming through and being built. And, if you're adventurous, you start to play and start to experiment. And realizing the quality of the output was the quality of the input that I was putting into it made me realize that if you're in a space where you are imaginative and you are able to test and iterate, this could be a tool that would blow everything else apart, you know. And you would hear messaging out there from a bunch of different individuals saying the future is this is going to happen, X, Y, and Z. And I believed it through using it and started to go, wow, this is insane. And then as every month went on, capabilities were, you know, 10x, 100x to what it was before. The quality was exceptional. And actually it's one of my co-founders, Daniel Muller, who really opened the door on this, because I approached him just to work on what we were doing on a financial level. He's a guru in the world of finance. And he said to me, oh, it's been a while. I've been doing a lot in AI. You need to hear this. And he'd been working in AI for years, and said, we need to be really, this is going to be big. And that was it from there. So, yeah.
Yeah. And on that note, what is ideal and what problems are you solving?
Okay. So there's a few problems we're trying to solve. I think the first one is a personal one, which is a personal driver. So I've been working for founders or been a founder my entire career, I've realized. So some 20 plus years. And in that time, I have seen what it takes to get an idea live. And it's honestly, I believe, the single hardest thing you can choose to do. And I got to a point of frustration last year where, as I'm sure you do, I've got a bunch of things written down that I think are good ideas. And they're like horses in a race. You know, some have got a brand name, some have got a holding page, some have got, you know, planning and everything around them. And I just couldn't get them done. And I'm sat here going, like, I founded other stuff and I've made this happen, but why can't I get this list across the line? Yeah. And I'm playing with ChatGPT and connecting with some OpenAI stuff and whatever. I'm like, someone must have built a co-founder that I can just go to, chuck in my idea, and it helps me launch. So it's either I do none of these things and basically follow the guidance of focus on the things I have, or I do all of them. Let's do all of them. So I went to find the platform that would do it. Didn't exist. Wasn't there, right? And my standard for this is quite high. I want a co-founder that doesn't just give me a video I can watch and some advice. You know, I can go to a talk and listen for an hour and write down some notes and leave. It's lonely being a founder. It's lonely trying to make something happen. I wanted something that would be with me 24 hours a day, that would give me advice, that I could rely on, that would encourage me, that would support me. And so that for me was like, well, as a second, third, fourth time founder, I want to do more founding. So how do I do that? That led to me going, but this can't just be my problem. There must be a problem for everyone else. Yeah. And as a first time founder, you've been in business quite a long time, right? It's hard to remember the very first time you did it. The agony, the stress, the pain, the things you didn't know, the mistakes that we make. And I went down the rabbit hole of understanding the entrepreneurial journey and realized that there's a metric that people don't cite for failure, which is burnout. People list all the reasons why 90% of startups fail, and they're mismanagement of money, not good marketing, bad brand, bad timing. There's a list of metrics that an actuary can measure, but no one measures burnout. You run 5 marathons before you start the marathon when you're founding a company, and that's just insane. Why is that acceptable? Why is that the case? So for me, we want to enable anyone with any idea anywhere in the world to do it. We're trying to make it easier. We're trying to go from the horse to the car. There's so much a car does for you when you're driving. We think our co-founder should do the same thing. And the only way we can do it is with AI. And then part of the challenge is getting funded. So for us, we're utilizing Web3 to build a decentralized fund that will agentically fund people through their journey. So for us, it's this AI co-founder in your pocket that can also fund you agentically using crypto. So it's fast. So we're in a place with that where we think that will solve those 2 problems. Serial founders who are a bit nuts and want to do a lot of stuff, and people who are from the very beginning trying to start something up. And I think that's a lot of people, right? A lot of people want to start their own thing. And then there's a couple of other layers around kind of loneliness, you know, being on your own,
Yeah.
not having a good co-founder. So we want to make sure that this is a solid co-founder, and also the disadvantages that people have in the world, right? Trying to start something up in South America or Africa or Asia is very different to doing it in Europe and the US, where there's ecosystems and funding and people who will talk to you and stuff like that. So if we can equalize that playing field, that's another big problem we're trying to solve with this.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. Between every entrepreneur and the success and the dream, there are obstacles. So if Ideal manages to remove these obstacles, then going back to what we said at the beginning, you're enabling people's dreams to come true.
Yes. And that's the thing, right? It's like, it's not just a case of using the technology to enable them. It's a case of saying to them, the technology is there to do what you want. So I talk to people about this a lot, and so many people believe the idea itself is so important, right? It's that eureka moment. I'm going to have a great idea, and when I do, not only is it something I can't tell anybody, because wow, if I tell people, they're gonna do it instead of me, but they also think that they're not going to have another one.
Yeah,
it's just the one idea, right, for your entire lifetime. So people are very protective of their ideas, and what they don't realize is that the idea is 1% of the whole thing, and it's a pivotal moment. If it's a bad idea, you could go down the rabbit hole with it and not be able to execute it in the way that you need to over time, X, Y, and Z, and it will fail. If it's an average or good idea, it doesn't make any difference. You need to be a good founder.
Yeah.
You need to get things done. You need to have the knowledge. You need to have the expertise. Your timing needs to be right. So for us, it's like we're ideal because the idea in itself is that spark that needs to be there. But your job is to keep it alive. Your job is to keep going and not give up.
Yeah, a great idea is nowhere near enough.
Right. And this is interesting, right? Because I have the different conversations with people who have done things and who haven't done things, right? And you also end up in a place where it's human nature to knock down an idea, right?
Yes,
right?
yes,
right?
yes.
So
absolutely.
I tell people this story, right? So, and my whole life, I love my parents, right? My dad's always been an accountant. He's very black and white in the way that he thinks. If I give him an idea, he will tell me invariably not to do it through his language. He will test me immediately, right? The black and white fundamentals of it, whether it's going to make money or not. My mum's a teacher, very creative. She will tell me to do it, even though I shouldn't. She's on the scheme of follow your dreams, do what you want to do, don't give up, sounds great, whatever. The truth is, it's in the middle, right? We know this, that it needs solid grounding, but it needs to also be disruptive and keep you inspired and excited about what it is. So what we're trying to do is say, don't ask people, ask AI.
Yeah, fair enough.
Get an agnostic, balanced review, right, on your idea. And that way you haven't got to tell people, right?
Yeah.
And you can go and get it from there. So that's where we're going first, is this kind of idea testing, feasibility.
It's interesting what you said about human nature, because most people, every idea is ridiculous till it's not.
Correct.
Till it works. Can you provide a very short summary of how Ideal will remove those obstacles?
Yeah, sure. So we have something called the Prevent Matrix.
Yeah.
Right? So this prevents ideas going live. And each letter stands for something. So P is psychology. Mm-hmm. And the first thing for us is, how do we give people the carrot and stick approach to, first of all, their idea, and then acting as a co-founder. So motivation, right? A misnomer in life. Mm-hmm. We think that when we have it, we should do. And when we don't have it, we don't, right? You know this.
Yeah.
You've got to do it anyway. You're tired, do it tired. You're no energy, do it with no energy, right? But getting things done is key. And the psychology of having somebody to push you, which is why personal trainers exist in the world, is critical. So for us, it's a hyper-personalized human push in the right direction. And that's either, encouragement, or it's saying to people that if you don't do this, you're not going to get the thing that you want. Your dream is not going to be real.
Yeah.
And the worst case scenario, you're going to die having not done this. Is that what you want? Kind of thing. So the psychology is critical. So it's behavioral stuff that we're working on. Resource is R for prevent. It's fundamentally money, but it's also not just money. If you already have a business, you can lean on that to build your next one, right? Most people don't have the first one.
So can entrepreneurs with existing businesses leverage Ideal?
They can. It's quite an interesting one because I built it for that reason. Like for myself personally, it's like on the basis of starting something new. Yes, for sure. But we are resisting the business support side of Ideal. Ideal is live and then done. Good luck. Please keep your business alive. Hopefully we set you up, right? So we do have a component of Ideal, which is kind of the AI engine that's learned you and the hyper-personalization. We want to be in a place where you can take that with you, right? When you go off on your journey as a founder and, try and keep the business alive. But we're launch. And then with a launch pad, right? You're the rocket. And once you've gone, we're not ground control anymore, right? We're looking to then go and support the next entrepreneur. So yes, if you want to found new things, for sure. If you want to use it to run your business, that's not what Ideal does necessarily. We could end up there, but yeah.
Out of all the places you could have launched Ideal, why Dubai?
So I think it's because I'm here already. I came here working for somebody else, not planning to stay here for long, which I think is the message that most people give. Well, they used to at least, 10 years ago. And I just got absolutely energized. Like I found Dubai to be on steroids when it came to being an entrepreneur, driving things, getting things done, moving things along. And the speed here was pretty incredible. And it made absolute sense, having built some of my own businesses here already, that Ideal would be born here and launched from here to the world. And our target market is right on our doorstep. There's plenty of entrepreneurs in Dubai.
I think your story is fascinating. A lot of people think that not everyone can be an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is an extremely niche skill set, and you're trying to prove everyone wrong in that everyone can be an entrepreneur. And I hope that you do prove everyone wrong and that everyone can become an entrepreneur. My final question to you is, from your journey, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs?
So for me, it's don't not do it. Like, don't regret. Don't try something. Just the outcomes are never as bad as you think. So open the Mac, research the thing, send the email, pick up the phone, like do the actions that you can look back on and say, at least I tried to do something. So try and just keep trying, right? And you know this as well as I do, that every attempt is a learning. There is no such thing as failure. It doesn't exist. I don't know why humans even coined the term, right? You're climbing Everest, you attempt, and then you make another attempt, and you keep attempting. When you're 3 years old, 4 years old, and you're trying to walk, how many times do you fall over? It's completely natural to make multiple attempts on something before you reach it, period. So you've got to try, you've got to keep trying. And then the actual truth of science when it comes to assessing, what could be perceived failure is when people give up. It's actually not that, something really stood in their way. It's a psychological thing. A lot of people get tested in this way, right? The special forces do this. You think the finish line is there and they move the finish line around the corner. And that's enough to break people because they had an assumption that the end was physically in front of them and now they can't see it anymore. And it's enough for people to just give up because they think it's going to go on for eternity. But it's just around the corner and you just don't know that. So giving up is final. Not giving up is just totally doable, totally feasible. Just move one step instead of 10. Do it tired. Do it, with no energy, but keep moving. So try hard and don't give up.
I couldn't agree more. Every single failure is a step close to success. Peter, thank you very much for joining Truth Central. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure. Thank you.